Hello everyone, so today I'm going to show you something that I've worked on for quite some time now, which is called sfvsim, and basically what it does is it's a Street Fighter V simulator. So you just take the core engine, the core script engine of Street Fighter V, and you try to emulate its behavior and have it inside your browser. That's basically the idea. So everything you need to know about the URL, the source code, the Q&A, etc., will be in the description. And also this video will be basically a tutorial or a grand tour of all the basic features and how you can prepare specific situations, etc. So there will be some time codes about the main concepts that you can have in the description as well. So let's dive right into it. So first things first, this is the main UI of sfvsim. You have one panel for player 1, one panel for player 2. Both are completely similar. And here, for instance, I have Cammy versus Ryu. And let's just simulate this simple situation. So I have both players with a starting position of minus 1.5 and plus 1.5 in games unit, and both will execute the script stand. So basically both will just stand right there and do nothing. Alright? So we can see we have Cammy on the left, Ryu on the right, and they are both at the coordinates I've set up, and you can change the coordinates right there. Nothing too magical about this. And the first things that you can do is set up the rest position. So the rest position is basically the script that will be executed if the bot has nothing to do. So basically here I can tell Ryu to crouch, and as you can see there's some flags that will be printed out. So here you can see the status of Ryu, which is crouched. There's 3 status, there's the air, there's the counter, and the crouched. That's basically the same idea for invisibility, and those will be printed out for each frame. So that's the first thing that you can do for the purpose of the demonstration. I will keep on stand here. And let's write some really basic thing. So I'm going to just throw out a middle punch from Cammy. So as you can see, if I do a middle punch at this position, I will whiff, which is totally normal. But if I get close, or maybe not that close, if I get close to Ryu, so just 1 game unit, I will hit, and because I hit, I have a frame advantage of +7, which is the exact value of the stand middle punch for Cammy. And the first thing that you can tweak now is the hit effect on Ryu. So here I'm going to tell him to guard. So here I have a +3 advantage because he took the stand middle punch on guard, and maybe you can see that if you switch between hit and guard, the position is not quite the same, which is totally normal. That's how SF5 has been built. And you can also select counter to have a frame advantage of +7, +2, meaning +9. Let's check that out. Yes. So I have a frame advantage of +9 now because I received the stand medium punch as counter. Okay, so now let's do exactly the same thing, but with a sweep. So the sweep is a knockdown, and the knockdown has different ways of dealing with. So the standard knockdown will place the sweep with a frame advantage of 69, +69. If I do this on guard, I will have this really standard -12 on guard. Let's just play that in. And if I just select the hits, and I can select Ryu to do a quick rise. So here I have a frame advantage of +20, and you can see that as soon as Ryu hits the ground, it will try to rise up, right? And that's exactly the same thing for the back recovery. And here it is. So you can see that the position is not exactly the same, which is normal. And basically that's it. So now I'm going to switch to something a bit more complex. So I'm going to do a fierce punch into an arrow. So yeah, let's do this one. If I do this, you can see that the full combo is executed and the cancel has been done first frame, because I've wrote here that I don't want any delay after the first cancel frame. Although if I want, I can exploit the cancel window. So for the strong punch, the stand strong punch of Kami, there's, if I remember correctly, a 2-frame window where you can cancel into a special. So I can here delay the arrow cancel by 1 frame. So here you can see that we have 171 total frame, and here I have 172 because I've delayed the arrow by 1 frame. Let me see if I can show it to you. Here's the frame. This is the frame that we have delayed upon. So this is a frame of delay, and now we start the arrow, etc., etc. This may be useful if you want to replicate something like Guile's crouch medium punch into Sonic, which is delayed in terms of cancel. So something that is important is that all the cancels that you will find in the timeline is only the only moves that you will find that are the moves that can be technically executed. So here you can see that after an arrow, I only have the CA cancel. and I can try to link some stuff and do some movements, but basically in terms of cancel, I only can do the CA. So here, I can show it to you. I can perform a full arrow into critical art. Obviously, this is not very graphic because there's no hotboxes during the CA animation, but you have a frame advantage of plus 93, which is the correct one. Now, let's go into links. So, you can perform links like simple stuff, medium interface. It's really standard Kami BNB. And here you can see that it works correctly. I have a combo counter of 2, and everything worked out fine because what it does here is that as soon as the medium punch has finished, it can transition into the next move, which will be the strong punch. But what if you wanted to insert a delay between those moves? Well, you can't do this because you have to tell the simulator what you want to do between those moves. So here I'm just going to stand, and you can see that you can rearrange your timeline as you want. And here I've just input a stand position, and I added a small delay. So 1 frame of delay is okay from MP to HP, but it's not okay if you have 2 frames. That's what you can here. Yeah, you can see here. So there's multiple situations that you can test. So one that is really interesting is that if you perform an arrow, you can either perform an arrow as a cancel or as a link, and you can select those in the timeline menu. But if you perform an arrow, you will see that you don't have the combo here, because what is really important to see, that's it, is that the first frame, the first active frame of the spiral arrow is not hitting Ryu at this range. The second as well, and the third will hit. But if we get close enough to Ryu, then the first frame will hit. And that's one of the things I wanted to replicate inside this simulator, and that I think is really cool. So, let's go a bit further, and let's talk about V-trigger. So, as you can see, there's a V-trigger flag here, V-trigger gauge, and by default you don't have any V-trigger. So when I talk about the V-trigger, it is the V-trigger gauge, the gauge that depletes over time once you are inside V-trigger. I'm not talking about the V-trigger bars. So, what is really important to know is that you need V-trigger to perform V-trigger moves. So if I select a V spiral arrow, the simulator will yell at me because it requires 1,000 units of V-trigger gauge, and I have none. So the first thing you can do to gain V-trigger is execute the V-trigger script or move, and using this you'll have the V-trigger activation, and then you have 2,000 units of V-trigger and go inside the V arrow. So that's cool, and by default, and we'll see later how to tweak that, you don't have any V-trigger. Another situation that you may want to do with the timeline is the button hold. So let's switch to Jerry, and let's select V-skill. So if you don't know, Jerry's V-skill is basically you hold V-skill for a certain amount of frames, and if you charge it enough, you have different properties. So here I'm just going to place myself as standard, and I'm going to throw a raw V-skill. I'm not going to hold anything. So here, if I place it on guard, the Jerry's player will recognize the -10, and if I execute it, I do not have the first hit right there, and I just go through the player and hit it by behind and placing a -10 at the end. But if I hold the V-skill for, if I remember correctly, 70-ish frames, I'm going to charge it until the level 3. And here you can see we have different frame advantage, which is a -18. And also, it will hit once and twice. And you can see that Jerry's is charging a lot of time. But Jerry's V-skill can be interrupted by a dash. And here, basically, interrupted means cancel, and you can cancel using the same delay properties that we have seen earlier. So here I have a V-skill that I want to cancel as soon as possible. So here you are. So here I did a forward cancel, and here I can select a backward cancel. Oops, sorry. And I can delay it as long as I want. If I want to charge 20 frames and then back up, I can do it. And the way it works is the V-skill, if charged enough, can be cancelled into dash, but you can launch the level 3 directly, and that's why in the move list you also have the V-skill level 3, and here you will directly launch the V-skill in its final form. So that's it for the button hold, and there's plenty of instances of button hold in the game, so you can play with that. Let's go back to Kami and let's talk about jumps. So there's obviously 3 types of jumps that you can do: the vertical jumps, the forward jump, and the backward jump. Come on, here you go. And the way it works is that now because you're in the jump state, you have access to all the jump moves. So here you have all the jump, strong punch, or stuff like this. Let's do a strong kick. You can input this now, and you couldn't before, because by default you need to perform moves that can be executed while in standing state, which is not the case here because we are in jumping state. So again, if you want to throw a jumping strong kick, you have to cancel your jump with a strong kick. So here I'm going to write 30 frames because I want to jump for 30 frames and then hit the kick. And we can see that we perform this perfectly. And if I place it on hits, I have a frame advantage of plus 13, and from then on you have a full opening and you can do plenty of stuff. So let's write a small combo. So because I'm plus 13, I can place crouch HP into V trigger cancel, into double knees, into the crouch MP, into V arrow, into V spike. And you can see that it's quite easy to write and direct, easy to execute. So here I've just wrote a simple combo, a standard Kami combo in just a few seconds, and the simulator completely runs it, and I think that's pretty cool. So let's go back to jumps, because we were talking about this earlier. So during a jump, you have to understand that there's restrictions when you are in the air. So first and foremost, you can guard in the air and stuff like this, but you can also you can't also do whatever move, any move, I should say, because let's say I want to do a cannon strike. So cannon strike is a standard Kami move, and if I do this on the first ever available frame, it will yell at me. Why? Because I will try to do a strike, but it will be too low, and inside the Street Fighter V scripts, there's a hard limit on the height. So here, the strike can't activate unless you are above 1.2 game units in terms of height. Here, the simulator yelled at me because I was at 0.225. So let's delay my strike a bit. Not yet. Here we go. So here I've delayed enough to go beyond the height restriction, and here I have a really standard optimal strike. And let's see, at 0, I think it's right. So at 0, it's not good because I hit the head. It's decent enough. So here I've just placed Kami to hit the shoulder, basically, of Ryu with the strike, which places her at a +4 advantage. So the same idea of jumps goes for hooligans and demon flips and all the different moves that launch you in the air. So one last thing about jumps is wall jumps. So let's go to Rashid and let's place ourselves in a corner. So we are here in the corner, and I want to perform a wall jump. So I'm going to do a jump, and here it proposes a wall jump, but if I just press simulate, first thing he says, hey, you're not high enough. Alright, so we have seen that we can use the delay to play with this, but now he says you're not close enough to the wall, because you have to touch the wall in order to do a wall jump. So let's play with the delay frames until reaching 25, not enough. 27, I think it's going to be okay. Yes. So, whoops. Yeah, it was a bit slow. Sorry. So here I've performed a wall jump with Rashid, and with holding the button down for one frame, which is the trigger to perform a wall jump down. But if I configure the simulator to not hold any button, I can perform a standard wall jump, which will be this one. So wall jumps work, but you really have to be as close to the wall as possible, which is exactly how Street Fighter V works. All right. I think I've talked about everything here. So finally, I'm going to talk about movement. So there's different movements that you can do inside the game. So there's dashes, back dashes as well. Here you go. And jumps we have seen. And there's some moves that I called infinite, because you can do those indefinitely. So if you want to use, let's say, a forward into you want to walk to your opponent and then do a medium punch, you can select the forward and then go into the middle punch, and using the delay you will tell the simulator, I want to walk for 10 frames, for instance. And if I'm close enough, I think I am, yes, I will hit Ryu with this. Alright, so that's it for the simple stuff, but I have a last thing I want to show you, is for when you want to study a really specific situation, there's something that you can do to fiddle with, which is changing the initial script. So let's say you want to test a dive kick advantage. You want to see, let's see the hit advantage after if I am at 1.5 units, or if I had 1.3 units, or if I select the light version instead of the strong version, etc., etc. What if the opponent is crouched? Well, basically, you can either do the full simulation of, let's say I write a jump and then I cancel into a strike. But it's not really convenient in terms of defining the height of your player or the exact position. And what you can do for this is use this box. And here I can select the starting position I want. So here I'm going to select the jump. I'm going to pretend I'm in the middle of the jump, and I'm going to place myself high enough. So let's say 1.3, and I'm going to do a strike. So now, if I press simulate, I can understand exactly what the strike will be, because that's the only thing I will try to simulate. And I can change the height to see how it affects everything. So you can also select if you want to start with V trigger or not, in order to perform, let's say, a V strike, etc., etc. So that's the more advanced stuff. But if you want to play with it, there you go. Technically, you can also play with V reversal with the guard positions. Oops, not this one. Guard. You can launch V reversal from this. Even though V reversal is not correctly, I mean, it's not really convenient to play with it, because you would need to have something to configure or unblock. If I block maybe 3 times, I'm going to make Ryu do a V reversal, stuff like this, which is not currently possible in the simulator. But basically you can do this as a starting point. So that's it for me. I think I've covered everything basically. So let me know what you think of this, either in the description or just tell me about it on Twitter. And if you have any issue about sfvsim, make sure that you check out the issues that have already been reported, and there are a lot of either minor stuff like just one frame that is bugged, or completely wrong script. And if you can't find what you want, you can click on the report, type a message, type a contact info in order for me to contact you, and basically that's it. It will come right into my inbox. Finally, you can copy the link of the exact situation that you have right in front of you to share it on Twitter, Reddit, or whatever. Or just give it to a friend, and it will work perfectly if you just open the link, click on simulate, everything will work. So that's it for me. I think you'll I hope that you will enjoy it, and see you later, and thank you.